Interesting.
All right. So are we live to both?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
good
yeah,
enough for
we're
me.
Totally good.
What's going on, guys?
Hi.
Welcome back. This is Side B of Awesome Hardware, episode 163. The date is September 25th. We never read off the date, you know? I'm
Yeah.
going to start doing that.
It really dates the show, though.
It really, damn it.
It's just
Funny.
very literal. That's not even a pun.
It really
That's just
is. No, no, no.
exactly. There's just a,
Well, that was so nice. That's why it was so good, because it was like a double entendre.
no, it's
he's on
not.
fire.
It's just literally. Alright.
I mean, okay, sure.
Yeah, okay.
No, dude, I'm reading into it too far, clearly. But welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you're just joining us. The first half of the show, today's episode, was streamed on Paul's YouTube channel if you weren't catching us on Twitch. So you can actually head there if you're watching this after the fact, after the live broadcast. You can go to his channel, youtube.com/Paul's
Watch
Hardware.
the beginning. It's like the prequel. It will show all the backstory to explain how we got to where we are now.
Yeah, you want to understand anything we're saying if you don't watch his half first. And that's also linked in the description below. This is a tech news show, in case you're new here, that we do every single Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we like to have a few drinks. So if you are joining us on that, cheers. Thanks for being here. We occasionally use adult language, so if you are not cool with that, you've been warned.
Adult language warning.
Too friggin' bad. Yeah, what else? Stores. You can buy things from our stores. How does this show work again?
You're trailing off, Kyle.
No, I got
It's
this.
almost like you had a long weekend.
I'm totally.
No, you're fine.
You have no idea.
You're fine.
But it went by so quickly. Bitwit.tech is my store. You buy merchandise there. There's mouse pads, hoodies, shirts, bottle openers, glasses, lots of stuff.
Lovely.
It's all very high quality. Same you'll find on Paul's store, which is paulshardware.net. We both go through the same merchandise guy, and we will yell Johnson at you probably in our after party, which will happen more or less in about half an hour to 40 minutes from now. So thank you very much for supporting us in that way, and just for joining us for the show. Let's move on to tech news. There's a few stories to talk about here. There wasn't anything super crazy happening this week in the industry, but we're gonna do our best to entertain you guys here. The first story is from PC World. Our good friend and colleague Gordon Ma-Ung, who works there, wrote this article. So thank you, Gordon, for this one at PC World. It's about Newegg and the fact that credit card information was stolen from the old tech retailer.
In a sophisticated hack.
Yeah, it was very
sophisticated attack.
Yeah,
It's like
they were all pinkies up. You know, they had a monocle. They're probably wearing monocles and.
So we need the classic, the classic picture of like the hacker with the
top hat,
whatever on, but he's got to be wearing like a nice suit or something.
He looks like the Planters peanut guy.
Yeah, he's still got the beanie over his head, but nice suit, sophisticated attack.
It's very chic.
So-
Balaclava.
It was skimming people's credit card information during the checkout process, right?
I believe so, yes.
From what I gathered?
Yeah, exactly. During the checkout process, well, first off, the Newegg servers were basically injected with a bit of malware.
It was one of their servers.
Okay, yeah, one.
So this
One is all it took.
So this is important. Like you're talking about a company like Newegg or whatever, they don't have a single server that everyone is connecting to. They have multiple servers, so it only
takes one.
Apparently, the hacker only had to get into one of them, so it was only people who are connected to that specific server that would have been compromised, I guess.
Sure.
In this situation.
So there are still some people who are safe. I would imagine in that sense.
But you don't know.
But you don't know if you are.
Unless
or not.
Newegg has proactively gone and contacted the people who were compromised, which I don't know if they have done.
I feel like I bought something from them because, all right, here's the deal: is that it was found that all this credit card information was being sent to a domain that was registered as neweggStats.com, and that domain was actually registered on August 16th. So customers from that date on who purchased from Newegg starting from August 16th forward are likely affected. But like Paul said, since it was only one server that was hacked or attacked, we don't really know who's safe and who's not. So it's just best to assume that you've been compromised in some way. It's always best to assume that you've been affected.
Better safe than sorry. If you made a purchase
after that date. So, and also double check your emails and stuff to see if Newegg's reached out to you. I think I made a purchase from Newegg since that date, and I have not received any contact from them. I don't know. It doesn't mean it's for everyone. And also, this doesn't just affect, your credit card information being stolen. It also has the potential to affect pre-orders. I actually saw Wendell tweet about this. This is how I picked up on this news story in the first place. Wendell from Level 1 Techs. He tweeted that Newegg had actually canceled his RTX 2080 Ti order, or his pre-order, because his card was stolen, but Newegg never reached out to Wendell and said, hey, can we get a replacement credit card? Do you have a valid credit card that we can still, that way we can still get your order through? They just straight up canceled it and didn't tell him, and so now he's got to wait a lot longer for a 2080 Ti to arrive. Yep. So he wasn't too thrilled about that. So it's actually affecting people in multiple ways. Yeah, this is the, if you want to give credit to these assholes, there was a very similar attack by the same group against British Airways and Ticketmaster. The hacking group is known only as some stupid name. Some dumb. It's like, really, you couldn't have come up with something. I didn't even write it down because it was so stupid.
Just for the record, Kyle is the one who's throwing out insults at the hacking group.
Mage Cart. What a stupid, awful name. I'm just asking for it. No, whatever. It makes sense because, they're mages. Like, they do magic. They, do hacks and stuff.
In a shopping cart.
In your shopping cart. In your digital cart. So,
Fair.
I take back everything I said. I love you guys. Cheers, you're doing the Lord's work, my friend. Hacking is a gift to all of us, and it should be praised. So, no need to look at my pages anytime soon. All right, let's move on. Hope everyone's information's safe out there.
Use two-factor authentication, everyone.
There you go. I don't know how to pronounce this. Manly?
Manly.
I want to say Manly.
Manly?
Because
Manly? I feel like there's only two possibilities. It's just
Manly,
where you put the accent. It's
Manly.
either Manly
or Monley.
or Manly.
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 Is it Monley or Monley? It's where you put the accent and the emphasis.
Where are they located?
Or how you the pronunciation. Asia and Middle Eastern. Asia and Middle East is the market they usually dominate.
All right.
But anyway, regardless of how to pronounce their name, I'm just going to say Manly because it makes me happy. This is a GPU board partner who has just announced their RTX 2080 Ti and 2080 Gallardo. Gallardo. It's a double L, and I'm thinking it's like Spanish, maybe.
Yeah,
because you've got
Gallardo.
Right, because you've got what is that word from? Like the Lamborghini. There's a Lamborghini Gallardo, I believe. So I don't know. I guess that means it's fast. I don't know what Gallardo means in whatever language that is. At any rate, we're talking about the cards here. You can see that it's got a pretty premium looking, triple fan heatsink design.
You're right.
What?
There is a Lamborghini Gallardo.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
fact checking me, bro.
It's
fact checking me.
It's from 2014.
I was gonna say next.
562 horsepower.
Yeah, obviously. This is all common knowledge. I was born with this shit.
Fuel tank capacity of 23.8 gallons.
Yeah, so Gallardo. Yeah, you're right. No,
Yeah,
it's Italian. It's Italian. Sorry.
It's a type of bull, says Samwise. Thank you, Sam.
So it's interesting. The name of Gallardo, when they don't service the European market. Anyway, you can
Were
see.
they trying to evoke the name of the Lamborghini Gallardo?
Perhaps there was some crossover there. Some
try to
marketing.
Insinuate that the car is
fast.
fast sports car.
Luxurious.
Been done
Anyway,
before.
it's a pretty decent looking card. It doesn't look terrible or anything. It looks like it's got some aluminum plated shroud elements, gold, silver, and black. For as far as the color scheme.
Why is
Little
there like a Trojan
Spartan thing?
helmet
Helmet?
on its head?
I don't know. It looks like a logo they're just sort of playing with. I don't know if that's like their actual logo. I think they just created that logo just specifically for this line of cards.
Probably.
There's RGB lighting. Who knew? And they've also designed a blower fan RTX 2080 that I don't care about. And you shouldn't either, unless you really need a blower fan style RTX 2080. It's possible. You might need it. Just not sure how quiet it would be or cool.
I might be interested if it actually cost $600.
Yeah.
Or 700? Wait, what's the? Yeah,
700.
Yeah, 590.
Yep.
6.
These will probably not hit retailers in Asia or the Middle East till mid-October, but there's also no pricing on here. And they're probably in some currency we don't
Lamborghini
we don't know anyway.
GEC01 in chat, who knows more about fancy sports cars than we do, says Gallardo is Spanish. Every Lamborghini card has been a famous bull name, and they're all in Spain.
See, I said Spanish. That was the first thing I said. I said Spanish.
Someone in chat said that, so it must.
I deserve a cashew. Yeah. So I don't know. Just thought I'd point this out because I feel like
Except Countach. I was gonna say Countach is a type of bull.
What's that?
Lamborghini Countach.
Lamborghini.
Sounds like a warm vagina. It's a Lamborghini Countach. That's the impression it always gave
The
me.
Countach.
I'm sorry, right? That's what the name
Wait,
sounds
what'd you say?
like.
A what vagina?
A warm vagina.
A warm vagina. Countach.
That's what it must feel like to settle into a Lamborghini. No one else. Somebody else must have.
No, I definitely get where you're coming from.
Lamborghini.
Countach.
I wasn't trying to make it vulgar, Kyle.
Oh, it's actually the name of the car.
Yes, the Lamborghini Countach.
I mean, that's how they sell it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is from
that's
the
pure-
80s.
Pure sex.
74 to 1990 was when they were produced.
Okay.
Countach.
Oh, that's the name of. That's clearly,
One of the most iconic supercars of all time.
Manly should
in-
take some notes. The RTX 2080 Countach. That would be.
There you go.
That's the successor to the Gallardo.
Unless it's trademarked by Lamborghini.
I didn't know that bulls had so many different names.
Well, I don't think this is a bull name. Somebody
that's
in
not a
chat
bull.
Said, except for this car, that this was.
Oh, I
this
see.
is a unique and special one.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, we're also. It's also like Twitch chat, so
Who knows?
there's. Yeah.
The Lamborghini Red Bull. All right, so that's news. That's some news. Let's move on.
Good idea.
Now you know there's a new graphics card that exists. PC gaming prices, PC gaming hardware prices are supposed to be rising very soon, if not immediately, due to the Trump tariffs that have come into effect for the United States. And it's apparently going to get worse, as this freaking very clickbaity headline suggests.
As of yesterday.
This is from Dave James at PC Games N. And on September 21st, which was 4 days ago, if you're watching this live, Trump finalized the tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese imports, and Gigabyte was seemingly the first one in the PC space to really speak out about this with an announcement. They said tariffs will be effective September 24th, yesterday, 2018, and initially will be in the amount of 10%. 10%. 10%, perhaps 10% penalties on all their products. Now, maybe not all their products, but all the ones you care about, really.
The products that have tariffs enforced on them coming from China, right now the amount is 10%, but it's supposed to increase.
Supposed to go up on January 1st, I believe, to 25%, which is nuts. And Gigabyte, in their announcement, their little post there, they actually listed out all the parts that would be affected. Fortunately, you won't have to worry about like keyboard and mice, really. Keyboard and mice are largely unaffected unless they're bundled with PC parts, like DIY parts, which is what is mostly affected here. Everything from the motherboard to the graphics card to the CPU coolers, the CPU, I don't see CPU there actually, but everything else in a system.
CPU cooler is right here.
Besides the CPU, everything else in a system, the 7 or 8 components.
They're talking specifically about the parts that Gigabyte
will be tariffed on.
That Gigabyte makes.
Yes.
And Gigabyte makes a lot of different products.
Yep. So
CPUs aren't one of those.
I would assume, because all those parts are, that it's CPUs are in the exact same category, and that CPUs would also be taxed the same. So the entire build essentially could get a 25% price hike.
Yeah. So
$1,000 PC by January 1st could potentially cost $1,250. $1,250
if it scales
which is
in a linear fashion.
And then if you got to pay like freaking tax on that, still like, my God. So I don't know. It's also interesting because the article was saying that that certain companies like maybe Gigabyte or Asus, like the big dogs and stuff, the big ad and board partners, could potentially shift some of their manufacturing over to Taiwan. I don't know how feasible that would be for them if that would be even more expensive. But assuming, let's just hypothetically say that they could do that.
Gigabyte already has
Some factories in Taiwan.
In Taiwan.
Right.
Typically, it's more expensive to produce stuff in Taiwan than it is mainland China.
Right.
But it does seem like these tariffs are only affecting goods shipping
out of
from
China.
mainland China and
Right.
not Taiwan. Taiwan has a sort of complicated and difficult to describe relationship with, well, with China, Taiwan and China, and also how the U.S. views Taiwan. I was under the impression that U.S. viewed Taiwan and China as the same. That's China's policy. They have
I think
what's called the
officially
One China
they
policy.
don't recognize Taiwan as its independent.
They do not from a governmental perspective, but Taiwan is very independent. They have their own government. They have their own currency, NT versus the yuan that China uses. So they're very independent in a lot of ways. The U.S. government does not view them as independent from China because they don't want to piss off China, and that pisses off China when you try to say Taiwan's separate. But economically, there's a lot of economic stuff going on between the U.S. and Taiwan. So the U.S. is a little bit more protective, I feel like, of the economic side than they are of the government side. And that's as far as I want to go into it right now, because again, it's a very complex situation, and I don't want to try to explain something that I don't have any business trying to explain.
Yeah.
Point being, though, if they can shift stuff to be imported from Taiwan versus imported from mainland China, then there might be a way to get around some of the tariffs. But there's limitations on just volume and size. Taiwan is a much smaller physical location. It's an island off the coast of China versus mainland China itself, and where a lot of the manufacturing goes on there. So
Right.
the main questions right now are, will exceptions be made? There were a bunch of people that put up big stinks over certain tariffs going on with imports, and certain industries are able to lobby the government to have changes made or exceptions made. There's exceptions made right now for notebooks, for example. Notebooks aren't from China aren't having the tariff imposed on them, but components are supposed to be. So
Right.
this is a weird situation where, like, if I buy a whole computer, does that mean that whole computer I can buy and the parts will have been able to have been imported tariff-free? But if I'm buying the individual parts, those will have tariffs on them. Systems integrators who build the computers here but import the individual parts from China are in a very tough situation right now because they're dealing with the tariffs on the imports, but they still have to sell their hardware. And if you're not sure how this actually works, the way the tariffs work is the company in the U.S. that's buying the stuff from China is who pays the tariffs. So I've had a few people who have said, like, yeah, stick it to China with the tariffs. That's not how it works.
You're sticking to the U.S.
You're sticking it to the people in the U.S.
The
who are
US
trying to
companies who are
importing
paying.
goods from China.
Right.
So, anyway,
Yeah, and the other thing is that like it could further widen the gap between smaller add and board partners, for example, versus the larger ones. If the smaller add and board partners are not able to shift over their manufacturing over to Taiwan, for example, and they're stuck exclusively trying to export their shit from China, from mainland China, then they might fall by the wayside. They might pull out of selling to the U.S. entirely. Maybe say, all right, while these tariffs are going on, we're just going to sell to like Asia and the Middle East. We're gonna follow Manly, with their Gallardo and shit, and just say fuck the U.S. So you might have more limited options, not just more expensive prices at the end of the day, but more limited. There might not be as much competition at the end of the day as well. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways it could go. It's probably going to be bad either way. We just don't know how bad yet. There's the theoretical numbers, the 10% right now, and the 25% come the turn of 2019. But we don't know exactly if that's going to scale 1-to-1 with the prices we'll see. So we'll just have to wait and see. A lot of wait and see.
right.
All right, move on. AMD. AMD is, they're under the microscope right now. They've been checked out by, well, first off, this article is from Mark Campbell. I thought it said Mark Hamill at first, got excited. I was like, oh, he's into tech. OC3D.net. This is I guess this was discovered by some Linux enthusiasts at Phoronix, who discovered a new Polaris part was in AMD's latest AMD GPU Linux kernel patches. This was known as, or listed as 0x6FDF, which has not popped up before, so it indicates a new SKU. And now there are rumors of a potential Polaris 30 GPU launching, which would, I guess there were previous rumors of this, and now they're sort of resurfacing because of this discovery. Not much is known here. Some people are speculating that this will be more or less a refresh of the RX 580, for example, where we might see something like an RX 680 that just has some, sort of gen over gen, 12 nanometer performance uplift, maybe around 10 to 15%. I think people are suggesting around a 15% improvement in performance over an RX 580, which would outpace the GTX 1060 6GB model. Sure. And it could probably, knowing AMD, that they'll price it, hopefully they can price it fairly to make it more competitive with the 1060. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, more competition's always good, but I also feel like this isn't really what enthusiasts need right now, is a competitor to the 1060. I feel like what I would be looking for from AMD desperately, especially now, is like competition in the higher end space, maybe with sticking it to the RTX 2080 or even the RTX 2070. I feel like that the 2070, like Paul was saying, like that's usually that 70 SKU from NVIDIA has always been that sort of bang for the buck option where you get the best priced performance and you have enough bankroll to sort of throw down on a 1070 versus or a 70 SKU versus
you
the
still
TI
have enough
models.
money left over for the rest of your system.
That's right. So I feel like that's much more of an accessible card that still delivers incredible performance that a lot of people are really seeking, with just higher refresh rates and higher resolutions, that hyper 1080p resolutions and stuff like that. So I would have liked to see a little bit more from AMD right now, but at the same time, I wasn't really expecting to. I was expecting more of this, of maybe something more in the mid-range, entry level. That would still be a great card, still probably going to be perfectly fine, and could be even a better deal than the GTX 1066 gig. But it still leaves NVIDIA as the only player in the high-end game, which I really, it's like it's the same deal with Intel. Intel was the only player in the high-end CPU space until Ryzen came out and really gave them a run for their money. So I'd like to see that same sort of competition brought on that side, but
be nice.
there you go. I don't know, you guys let me know. What do you think? Do you care? Yay! Or is it like super are you excited?
Well,
like, what do you? How are you feeling?
I mean, not particularly, because it's existing architecture. It's the slight die shrink, but not a massive one. The 7 nanometer stuff is what I'm most anticipating Navi to actually have an impact on the high end and maybe show NVIDIA some competition.
Yeah.
Right now, there's already somewhat reasonable competition in the mid-range. Having something a little bit faster than an RX 580 that's nice. It'll be nice to have as another option, but it's less exciting compared to something that will actually compete with NVIDIA with the stuff that they're currently launching, the RTX series, which they feel comfortable enough launching at crazy prices that are higher than any GPU series has launched at before.
Right.
That's aimed at a consumer market.
Yeah.
So
rebadges are always like, okay, now this exists. I don't know, to me. I never get super excited about them. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait for another year. And that's the thing. I feel like AMD's always a year behind NVIDIA in the GPU space, if not more. They're always a year behind.
I thought they said they were going to have something 7 nanometer
yeah,
GPU by the end of this year.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I feel like it was phrased in such a way that
they also said,
I don't know.
They also said Vega was first going to launch like at the end of 2015 or something. So
yeah, true. Grain of salt, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty much. No. There's one more little thing here. Sorry.
You have two more little things.
Two more things. some somewhat good news here from Overclock 3D once again. There are some good SSD prices right now. So
Yay.
basically, I would this is really quick, just to give you guys a heads up. Go buy these SSDs now, because pretty soon they could be a lot more expensive with all of the U.S. tariffs. If you're in the United States, if you're not in the United States, then that doesn't apply to you. But
This is why we have an Overclock 3D article from the UK.
yeah, exactly. Because the U.S. is screwed. But some of these prices are really good. You know, the cost per gigabyte for NAND flash storage is just dropped significantly over the last few months. And some of these options here, they've listed the Kingston SA400, the SanDisk SSD Plus, and the Crucial BX500. These are all fairly budget-oriented drives. They're not the fastest on the market by any means. They're still SATA Rev 3 based, and even by those standards, they're not like, you know, on the Samsung 970 Evo type levels or whatever, but they're still significantly faster and perform much better than like your standard mechanical hard drive. And if you're looking for an entry level or even a mid-range system, throw an SSD in there to get some faster load times, then this is like, just buy one. Just if you need it, buy it right now, because they're really dirt cheap. Even in the US right now, I checked the Amazon.com, the US Amazon prices for these 3 SKUs earlier today, and they're about as cheap as they are here in the UK. So that's good news, and they've got sort of a range here. You can go even all the way up to the 960 gig SSDs. I saw them as a 960 gig SSD. I saw as cheap as like $130. So pretty impressive. This is a 480 gig for 88.
I switched it to US prices.
Yeah.
So you're logged in.
Oh, okay. don't reveal any sensitive details.
That's right. It's only got your
I got all my nudes, uploaded to the Amazon.
It's only
cloud.
got your zip code. That's all.
Oh, great.
480 gig, but yeah, nice 500 gig class SSDs for like $80, $85. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been looking forward to the point when SSDs were like a cheap commodity item, where it's just like, just throw a 500 gig SSD in there.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
Yep.
Whatever. Ideally, we'll
2
get to the
terabyte.
point where like 1 terabyte SSDs are even more viable.
Yeah.
But
So
cool.
And then our final story for today, before we dive into Pimp My PC, this is an article from our good friend Anthony from Tweaktown. He was one of the only people that I could find to report on just a smorgasbord of leaked pictures featuring brand new Z390 motherboards from Asus.
Why didn't this pop up?
I think they're all from Asus. There's a lot of boards here, so I'm going to just quickly go over them in order of appearance. Starting with the top. Sorry if there's any ads that play on the Tweaktown site. They are pretty ad heavy at times, aka all times.
That's all right. We're running uBlock.
Okay, great. The ROG Maximus 11 code, which I believe is the first board up there. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. This is the code. It's got a massive VRM heatsink, and you can see that it's kind of following the theme of, Intel mainstream boards with 4 DIMM slots. And it looks very much kind of like I think the lower half reminds me of like the Rampage 6 Extreme board. That sort of cover plate. It's a bit illuminated and stuff. The giant eye kind of has that brushed aluminum plating. There's RGB up the wazoo. You can see it's all over the I/O cover, that bracket, and even the SATA.
I'm glad they stopped putting the RGB on like the clasps for the PCIe and stuff.
It just looked tacky.
Yeah.
SATA's
SATA's got
got RGB.
some RGB.
And then even surface mounted power and resets got some RGB there. That's kind of cool. That's the first time I've ever seen configurable surface mounted power LEDs, to be honest. And then we've also got, I counted up the fan headers on that board, 7 fan headers, no visible M.2 slots, I'm sure there's plenty. And then this is the ROG Maximus 11, so this is not the code, this is the anti-code. Some differences here is, first off, it's black and white. And I also don't know if this is RGB or if it has any illumination. It's kind of hard to tell from this picture, obviously, but there's definitely a sort of a black and white theme going on here, which is kind of new for Asus in recent years. I haven't really seen many boards in their Asus ROG sort of lineup that have.
Yeah, so their prime. The primes,
lineup, yes.
That's been all black and white.
But I mean, just for this sort of ROG style board, definitely not. So it's pretty cool. I like it. If you want to do some black and white, it's very color neutral. You can still mix in a third primary color in there maybe.
It's got a VRM water block.
Yep, from EK, nonetheless, and It's a similarly huge heatsink that we saw on the code board. So yeah, that board looks good. We don't have any prices or anything like that. And then there's the Maximus 11 Hero boards, which, you know, the one features a standard sort of Asus ROG design. Kind of basic, probably cheap, much cheaper than...
I kind of like what Asus has been doing for a couple generations now, where they take sort of a design on the top and they continue it from the top left of the board to the bottom right, like these kind of slash across the board.
Because the GPU is going to fill in that gap, right?
Yeah.
And so it still looks pretty continuous, and especially if you've got, you know, some Asus Aura Sync lighting going on there with your GPU and your board, I'm sure you could make the whole effect go across the whole entire thing.
All of these have had a USB 3.1 Gen 2 port on them too. So cool.
And then that's pretty much it. Some other notable mention if you want to quick... Oh yeah, there's a Call of Duty themed one. I'm sure that'll, you know, hit with the COD fans. Black Ops, COD Blops is what you referred to.
Blops 4.
COD Blops 4. I got kind of excited when I saw the Asus Strix Mini ITX board down there. I don't know if you can scroll to that one. There's a little Mini ITX board. So there's another one. It's red. It's red and black. I don't like the ones with the text on them.
Oh, here we go.
But this looks nice. Even though there's a little text in the corner, it's not very visible. It's very minimal. Yeah.
If they're doing like they did before, then there's a colorful sticker, and then there's also a non-colorful sticker in the box.
Right. You can swap it out. So yeah. This looks good. This looks very similar to all their previous generations with that sort of very silvery aluminum finish, and you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that guy. And then the RGB on the side. I don't know how I feel about the RGB on the side, but
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it, but I'm not like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's not a must-have, but I don't mind it.
Yep. And then the Asus Prime Series. Let's just go to the Prime Series, because the Prime Series, which is the more whiteboards that you were mentioning, Paul, earlier, those are actually looking pretty cool. They switched up to the design of those as well. You can kind of see that it's got more of a polygonal design, sort of geometrical, if you will. I don't know. It's got a hex. It looks like a stop sign on the VRM heatsink, or the chipset heatsink.
Oh yeah.
But you know, part of your graphics card will cover that up.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way they look. I kind of like the RGB element, the implementation there, where it's kind of just like this patch on both sides. That's kind of different.
It's like
it matches with the geometrical style, huh?
Yeah. It's like it's kind of diffused or like a gradient or something.
And you know, it's always hard to tell. It's sort of gauge from these pictures how the lighting and stuff is going to look in real life. But I'm sure we'll get our hands on one of these.
This motherboard looks like it's exploding.
I don't like this one.
There's an explosion at the center of the motherboard.
This one gives me vertigo.
Kind of does, yeah. It's like you're looking down a pit of despair.
Sketchy. So that's some Z390 Asus ROG and etc. action for you guys.
Cool.
All right, let's move on to Pimp My PC.
Yay, Pimp My PC.
We get to pimp out your PCs. Starting with Matthew.
You need to update your Pimp My PC for over here.
Oh?
You still got the old one. We need the new lower.
Oh yeah, yes we do.
Lower thirds.
Okay. AMD Ryzen 1600X. This is from Matthew. He has a Ryzen 1600X, an Asus Crosshair Hero 6, 16 gigs of G.Skill 3200, Speed Trident RGB, Asus Strix GTX 1070, and a DIY PC case. Can't remember the model name, and an Enermax AIO. All right. So.
Interesting SLI bridge. I haven't seen an SLI bridge like that.
Huh. Looks kind of Egyptian. I don't know. Is that racist? I don't know. Okay.
I don't think so.
No, probably not.
All right.
Matthew, I don't know. There's a lot of potential here, but I think your rig needs help in a couple different ways. I think the ketchup and mustard, it's bullseye. Right in the middle of your system is ketchup and mustard.
Right there, yeah.
You know, might as well get some extensions for your graphics card as well, your 24-pin. That would clean things up. You can go with black. You can go with white. I see some white accents in here, like on that AIO. And I also think the red is kind of sticking out on that SSD sticker, so maybe peel that off. Again, this is all aesthetic and whatnot, of course, subject to personal tastes.
If you're going to go as far as to peel off the SSD sticker, I would also say pull your optical drive and see if you can either do a wrap or a paint job on it.
Yeah. It's that sort of, I don't know, that off-white, that sort of off-white color doesn't really
It's like the old
It's a sore
school,
thumb.
the old school PC look, but it stands out a lot.
Yeah.
You've got what I think is an
And-
RGB controller
RGB
from Thermaltake that's just kind of chilling in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Distracting.
probably you probably just routed it over there and placed it somewhere where it was accessible, but it doesn't look that great.
Yeah. And I'm guessing he did it because there's not much room behind his motherboard tray.
Yeah, so
It's a DIY PC case, so I don't know. Maybe you could put it under your graphics cards, where it's just a little bit more out of sight. It's like, and the controller doesn't even look that bad. It's just the cables coming out of it. So maybe stick that under your graphics cards.
This
Get
is
some
a-
Velcro tape.
this is a two-way GTX 1070 configuration.
You don't see 1070 SLI much.
Yeah,
I wonder if he got one. You know,
you must not have watched my video on 1070.
Added another one.
1070 SLI.
clearly not a fan. But you know,
I'd like to see a picture of the entire case. DIY PC, I've had a few experiences with, and they haven't all been positive. So
yeah.
you know, this could be something where a case upgrade might give you some more options to work with and everything. I mean, overall, the system doesn't look bad at all. This picture looks worse because there's a flash, so it's making everything stand out more. With the lights on and everything, it doesn't look too bad. So, yeah, a few of these suggestions should help move you along towards a system that's pretty, that you can look at and be happy that it's pretty.
Yep. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Next up, we have Gay Porn Stuntman.
Nice.
He does all of his own stunts. Doesn't make him gay, though. Just because he's a gay porn stuntman does not make him gay. He just sucks all the dicks for the cinema.
I believe what you should be saying is there's not that there's anything wrong with that.
There isn't.
There's not.
There isn't. But sure.
I'd be kind of curious. I'm kind of curious, like a day to day, like I want to watch a video that follows him around with his job and everything like that.
That'd be fascinating. I've
I
actually
think
watched a
you could do
documentary
it-
on
I
that.
think you could do it tastefully. Anyway, he's got an i7 6700K overclocked to
adjectives.
4.6 gigahertz, Asus Maximus 8 formula, GTX 1080 Ti OC, 970 Evo, 2 terabyte, WD Black, 6 terabyte, 32 gigs of G.Skill 3200 megahertz memory, a Corsair AX860i power supply, Windows 10, and a Corsair Obsidian 450D case. That's a classic. I like that case. Masterfan Pro RGB fans, it's his first build ever. He wants criticism
Criticism.
on his
Criticisms.
cable management.
All right, let's give him all the criticisms right off the bat.
Okay.
All right, you know, I think this is a really nice system, honestly.
It looks very nice.
It's very sexy, and I think that your cable management's great on the backside for sure.
yeah.
And the front side, even
I
it's
think
pretty
the,
tight.
The back looks better than the front for some reason.
Yeah, it
right?
does.
Right?
Yeah, you spent a lot of time back there. All those Velcro ties and stuff. It looks very clean. You can definitely see like the routing sort of lanes that you figured out there. But on the other side,
I also want to point out he's either doing some interior decorating or something, or that's like a kill room he's got set up in the back.
oh,
there.
that's a Dexter kill room for
It's
sure.
obviously a kill room. So, gay porn stuntman has become even more mysterious with his.
Maybe that's a gay
regular
porn stunt
job.
that he's doing over there.
All right. So, what?
I want to
what-
feel like, so sorry you're not going to like this answer, gay porn stuntman, but I think you need to add some extensions, which will kind of cause you to have to redo all of the pretty cable management behind your motherboard tray.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's the only way it's going to happen. It seems like you enjoy cable management at the very least, so you probably won't mind so much doing it again because you've already put the time in the first time around. I think it's going to help the look of your system so much more, though. Even just to get some like nice, clean, black extensions. Whether you go paracord or, you know, what's the other one? Paracord or PT.
PET.
PT. Whether you go like the sort of plasticky or the fabric route, I think either way will boost the look of your system tenfold. Because yeah, they're black, but they're also kind of rubbery and kind of glossy. There's that heat shrink around them.
yeah,
That nasty heat shrink.
The big old heat shrink, which,
Not my favorite.
and it only stands out because everything else in the system is pretty
really
well
clean.
color matched. So
Yes,
so there
very,
you go.
very, very black. I don't even mind the power supply sticker because it's just that little speck of red there.
Yeah,
It's
so-
not bad at all. And everything else looks really good, you know. I'm actually not opposed to the sort of Velcro straps around the tubes, the AIO tubes, if it's done right. It looks like you've done a pretty good job there.
It's holding them up and out of the way.
Yep, and that's pretty much it, man. You do that and you're solid, I think.
All right.
Let's move on.
Thank you for your submission, Gay Porn Stuntman.
Gay porn stuff, man. Next up, we got John.
John Klingman.
Johnny. Core i5 8600K Gigabyte Z370 Mini ITX, 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance Pro, a 1 terabyte hard drive, a Sapphire RX 580 8 GB card, and an NZXT 200. It's of course a Mini ITX case to house that little motherboard there.
Okay.
Now, I picked this submission because I think it has so much potential. It already looks really clean, but there's just a couple little, very minor, very easy to fix, quick fixes that you could add here to really amp it up a notch. So, for starters, I love the fans. I love the case fans. Are those LL series? They might be. And I like that you've also slapped one onto your CPU cooler heatsink. I think that's very matchy-matchy. That was a good call. I like the custom sleeved cables here. However, I think the cable management for your SATA cable, in particular, that one SATA cable could maybe go underneath that reservoir bar on your case instead of crossing over.
It's possible that's a USB 3.
Oh, is it? Oh, you might be right.
If it's a USB,
even if it is.
If it's a USB 3, it might be too tall on the plug side to kink at a right angle to go under that bar, which might be why it's like that.
You could,
I could be wrong about this. It's hard to say from the picture.
No, that's definitely possible, but I feel like even if it's USB 3, you can bend it, not even right angle, but just straight back, like do a full 180.
Enhance.
That USB 3 cable is very malleable. Enhance. You could definitely get that under there.
Oh, that's USB. That's definitely USB.
Oh, thank you for that enhance.
Zoom and enhance.
Paul.
Yeah,
So
next to the
that's a
same.
20 pin. Forgive my mistake. From far away, it looks like it could be anything. So I would definitely say you could try. I think it's very possible
You
that
could
you
try
could get
it.
it down there.
There's also right angle extensions I've seen for USB 3.
That'd be a clean option.
That could also be a potential choice there, but honestly, before any of that, you really need a new CPU cooler.
Yeah, I mean,
The,
get maybe at least a nicer heatsink. You can buy CPU coolers that just have the heatsink and then
Yeah.
just slap that fan on there because it's a really nice fan.
Yeah, stick with the fan. That's fine.
Speaking of fans, I think you
Fans.
could use some additional fans
In the
or
front?
any fans at the front of the
Some
case.
intake.
It doesn't look like there's any intake here unless they're in front of the dust filter,
Not that I can see.
which I'd find kind of peculiar because that would bring the blades closer to the front panel, which would cut them off for airflow a bit more than if they were inside the actual frame.
We have negative pressure.
So I don't know. I don't think you necessarily need to buy more L series RGB fans or anything like that, but just some healthy airflow going to your video card, especially because that GPU is so close to the shroud of the power supply. I think it could use some additional lift there. But apart from that,
All right.
clean.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Moving on to Alex.
Alex.
All right, he's got.
It's his he built it for his girlfriend.
All right, off the specs. I'm gonna drink beer.
This is a Ryzen 7 1700X based system with 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance LPX 2400 speed memory. It's a 4x4 gig kit. Asus Strix B350 motherboard, Zotac GTX 1070 for graphics card, an EVGA 600 watt bronze power supply, and a Corsair 400C case. Okay. All right. First thing I would upgrade in this system.
Power supply.
Power supply? It's a 600 watt bronze power supply. There's nothing wrong with that. First thing I would
cables.
upgrade from a practical standpoint would be your memory kit. Jumping up to like a 3000 or 3200 speed kit would get you a bit more performance out of your CPU.
Or you could overclock it.
Even overclocking is you're not. I mean, you could overclock the memory, yeah, but you're probably not going to get too much more out of a 2400 speed kit. You never know though, so sure, try to overclock your memory first. Beyond that, aesthetically, yes, the ketchup and mustard cables are standing out. That is the trade-off for the very inexpensive EVGA 500B, 600B power supply.
And why does the case have a shroud over that area and not the actual unit? Is that for like a hard drive cage?
It's a good question, Kyle.
I've
not-
never seen that.
not 100% sure.
What?
It's just the case.
Maybe he removed maybe there was a part of the shroud
A rear shroud.
over that unit and he removed it.
It could be.
It looks like a two-parter. It looks like a two-part shroud.
Huh.
But I can't be sure. That's
Okay.
really peculiar though because those are some ugly cables. I'd want to cover that up.
All right.
Then That knock to a fan is great, but
Yeah, this
it's
is
also
this is a great knock to a cooler.
cooler.
Stands out aesthetically. Conflicted because it's a good cooler, so
maybe get some Chromax action in there.
yeah, get the Chromax upgrade for that. Beyond that, I mean, when you upgrade your power supply, you could maybe tidy up the cable management down here a little bit, and that would be pretty much. That's what I would recommend.
And if you do
Okay.
get a new power supply, I'd maybe flip it too, so the fan's
Yeah,
facing down.
fan down would be a better choice there.
Get
too.
some dust filtration there.
Alright.
Less dust. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
And then finally, for our last critique here is Nick Shakespeare. Ryzen 5 1600, a HyperX LED cooler, a B350 MSI Tomahawk motherboard, EVGA 500 BQ power supply, a GTX 1080 for the win, DT, 16 gigabyte. What is DT?
DT, I think that was the cheaper.
For the win, D.
Yeah, they're the DT. I think they were less expensive than the.
Oh wow, I never even heard of that.
Yeah, they came out when it's. I need to double check. Yeah.
We'll look into that. Chat, I'm sure you're on it.
Detuned.
16
yes,
gigs.
detuned.
Oh, detuned. Okay, got
Detuned or
it. Yeah.
downtuned?
Yep, that makes sense. 16 gigs of DDR4, 2400 megabytes, megahertz, I think you meant, of RAM. Kingston 240 SSD, and Roswell case that has made it 3 builds. So I guess he's been using this case for 3 different builds so far. I need a new case pronto, and I have mismatched memory in my PC. Oh wow, there's a lot of cabling going on here. Damn.
So you're right. You need a new case. I hate these 5 1/4 inch bay
They're the worst.
little bracket things
Pure
that snap
cancer.
on there.
Yeah.
Especially when they have this like red accent that stands out that
Little
doesn't look
plastic
that good.
thing. Yeah.
Those are really annoying.
Nasty.
All right, you got cables all over the place in here, which is probably again a factor of the case and probably not being able to route stuff behind the motherboard tray. So a new case would potentially help you out there.
Yep.
Again, we have an EVGA power supply. I can't
Same
even tell
model,
if these
I
are
think.
ketchup and mustard cables up here. It might be blocked. But
They look black.
It's a
at least.
500BQ. This might be a slightly newer version that has all black cables.
Still flip the power.
But yeah, definitely flip that. That would be a better situation for you. And
Remove whatever stickers on the other side of the power supply if you are going to flip it. Or if you're not going to flip it, just
yeah,
remove
you can-
that
you
sticker.
can black that out.
And then
There's a
I don't know. The CPU cooler
there's a
kind
bit
of
of
bothers
there's
me.
a grouping of cables over here underneath the CPU cooler that are yellow and black and red. And it's probably from this fan. It's probably a really crappy fan.
Yeah.
And this is bunched up down there so it could plug into a header right there.
True.
But that looks gross.
Yeah, I don't like it. Get a new fan.
There's also
Get a new case.
a weird cable coming up here, which I think is for the fan for the Cooler Master heatsink fan.
It's
Which
like
looks
going
like it's
through
just
the
going
heatsink.
right through the blades,
That's bizarre.
the fins on the heatsink. That's not best practice. Also, this little sticker, you can just rip that off. That's
Yeah.
okay.
New case. Better
and
cable management.
New case, redo the cable management.
That'll help a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
And then cable extensions if
other than that, you got a solid configuration as far as a 6-core CPU and a GTX 1080 and 16 gigs of memory. I mean, it's a good configuration. Here again, I would say upgrading the memory kit to something 3000, 3200 speed or better
yeah.
would give
Couldn't
you a decent little performance boost too. That's always recommended with Ryzen. But yeah, get a new case, Nick. I appreciate you reusing the same case for three different builds, but that
Very
means
resourcely.
that it is now high on
old.
the priority list for being replaced.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have one
Finally,
more
this is an honorable mention.
honorable mention.
I like this submission. This is from Kevin. He has a Core i7 8086K at 5.2 gigahertz on all cores, 32 gigs of 3000 megahertz Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro, an H150i cooler, Asus Maximus 10 code, EVGA 1080 Ti for the Win 3 ICX, Samsung 970 1 terabyte, damn, all in the Corsair 570X mirror black. Monitor is an Alienware 3440 by 1440 ultra wide. This guy has gone all out. The specs on this thing are pretty insane.
I was also going to point out this picture where he has his color coordinated pink and blue colors.
Yes.
Also has the reflection of his keyboard, which is also color coordinated.
Yep, it's very Hotline-esque, which is what caught my eye in particular. So the color matching's on point. Those Corsair LL series fans are doing work, son. They look really good in here. I like how you've color synced everything. Everything's very color neutral when the lights are off. It's very very black for the
I will
most part.
say, I know this is an honorable mention, but because everything is all black, this could use a little bit of a wipe down. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, yeah, you can see the
We got some
fingerprints,
fingerprints
on
right
the back
here, on the
plate there.
side there. There's a couple more down here on the power supply shroud.
Yep, I
Just-
noticed that
just
too.
a wipe down. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, treat it like a lady. Treat
And
it
hey,
like a
this
lady.
is also a prime contender for a like a cable extension upgrade kit.
Look at the other picture he switched.
Oh, he switched it.
He did. It looks like he did get an upgrade there. I was going to point that out. In the lit picture.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, he's got some sexy kills. So this must be maybe
okay,
sort of a
so they're
before
two
and
different
after,
pictures.
slightly
Yeah.
after.
Well, there you go then.
But yeah,
Nothing,
agree.
Nothing to add.
no, it looks good, man.
Well done, Kevin.
Well done. And thank you guys for submitting. If you didn't get picked this week, maybe you will in the future. Thank you all for participating. And that's going to do it for my half of the show. So don't go anywhere. Stay on Twitch. Actually, do go somewhere. If you're on YouTube right now, follow us on twitch.tv/awesomehardware right meow, because we're going to maybe play some games. And
Yeah.
as I promised, I'm gonna try to unbox that Gigabyte card and see what it looks like
that'll
and
be
stuff. That'd be cool. It's a RTX 2080 or 2080 Ti, I forget. But on that note, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Also, we'll do Johnson shoutouts and donations and stuff like that on the after party. And feel free to do timestamps for my half. Feel free to toss a like on it. And we love you. Thank you so much.
Bye,
See you
guys.
soon.